Hi, this is Liam from Proof of Concept Props. Today we'll be making a wand in the style of the Harry Potter films. If that sounds interesting to you, please stick around. Alright, so I'm working on this today. I'm going to try to make a wand that looks like a pine cone. We'll see how it turns out. But so we start off with the base right here, and we're going to go all the way up to the top of the blade. This is the tip. I'm going to be adding a nail. So that's all I have on hand right now. This is just a quick and dirty prop today, just because I really need to make something. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to drill a hole in the base of this. I'm going to put this in there, glue it in place, and then I'm going to take some tin foil, just normal tin foil and everything, and I'm going to build up a handle for it, and then I'm going to take 2-part epoxy sculpt. I am wearing my safety glasses so I don't get stuff in my eye, and I'm going to make sure that I do not hold the wand anywhere near where the drilling is going to be taking place, because I frankly do not want to lose a finger or have it minced again. That worked exactly how I intended it to work. I knew it would work the entire time. Yeah, so I made the hole quite a bit deeper there, so it should be able to accept the end of the nail a little bit better. This is only going to extend it by like 1 inch. So, change of plans. I am not going to be using a nail or any kind of armature or hanger wire, just because I don't have any on hand right now. I will be using one of these long wood screws. Hopefully I can just I've already made a pilot hole like we saw, so that should be good enough not to split the end of the wand, hopefully. Ooh, fingers crossed right there, right? If it happens, I can always fix it. It's not that big of a deal. It's always something to remind yourself, is that if something goes wrong, you can always fix it. Sometimes you might just have to take a minute to reevaluate the situation and think about stuff in a different light and not let yourself down too much. But yes, I'm going to try this, and we will see how it works. I could almost just like hand do it. Luckily, this is more of a electric screwdriver than it is a going in quite a bit crooked there. Okay, let's see. Well, that's in there. Okay, let's see if it can. Okay, it can. Okay. How do I get this to stay in there straight? Let's see. I'm gonna bulk it up anyway. Once again, the Dremel comes in handy. It fixed my problem, or so I think so far. Well, we will see. Can you guys see that? Still a little off. There we go. Hey, look at that. I got it more or less straighter than it was. That is good enough. I'm going to glue this in place and call it a day on extending the blade. The only reason I'm doing this in the first place is because I bought a bunch of long dowel rods, oak dowel rods from the hardware store, and I chopped them up into like 13, I think almost 15. Yeah, a couple 15. They're 36 inches, so I split them up into different lengths so I could get different length wands. And the one I want to make for this requires a little bit lengthier of a wand. Luckily, I have to sculpt the handle of it anyway, so it doesn't matter if it's made of wood or metal in this case. So hopefully everything will be fine. But remember, if you are planning to do this yourself, you can always just plan ahead and do the right thing by making the entire thing that's the length you need it to be. I have to do this because this is just what I happen to work with. Like I said, this is going to be a quick project just because I need to make something for my own soul. Okay, I am going to wrap the handle now. Mind you, the last time I did this, the handle ended up being a little bit pliable when you squeeze it. So I think that might have been because I did not compress the tinfoil enough, and that is on me. So all I'm doing here is I am just wrapping this up. You know, I am sure there are better ways to do this. I'm 100% positive there are better ways to do this. Or super gold, odorless. It's using the capillary action to get the glue up under the tinfoil and down the blade of the wand. I know it's not going to be glued to the nail, but that's more or less fine. I'm trying to now glue, using the capillary action again, the tinfoil to itself. Luckily I have done this before and it's worked out pretty decently. I don't have a spray applicator for my CA kicker, only because I find it gets everywhere and it's kind of a mess. I don't particularly like it. I'd rather just be able to apply it in drops like the CA glue itself. It makes it a little bit less messy. Okay, that feels pretty solid. Get all the residue off. Once again, I am trying to glue the tinfoil to itself. And now I'm going to build up the center of this. Like I said, I am making a pine cone. So that's what it looks like right now. It's going to be sculpted to the point where I can actually work on it, but it needs to be bulky in the center like pine cones are. I've always wanted to make a pinecone wand. I have had many attempts. If I can find pictures of them, they'll come across the feed. Okay, so now we have it, and it's more or less uniform across the whole board. Doesn't really matter. That's warm. Chemical reactions. Okay, so it feels good, feels solid, everything feels pretty compressed as far as it goes. I'm going to do the next step, which is to layer some clay on the outside of this. I think I will actually end up using the epoxy sculpt after all, because I put CA glue in this, and I do not want to put that in my oven. So the way this stuff works is it's two parts. It's just an epoxy sculpt modeling compound. I love this stuff. I've had this exact set of it for years. I've never really had problems with it. I don't know if it has an expiration date. I have never run into one. Yeah, so basically it's a 1-to-1. So you take, half of this, stick them together, however much you need. I've done this before. I have stacked up so much of this epoxy sculpt onto a single project before, to the point where it's like, okay, dude, that's a lot, and that ended up being really heavy because this stuff isn't light. I prefer my wands to be that way, to the point where they have a decent bit of weight in the handle. It makes it feel a bit more substantial. It says wear gloves, so wear gloves. Be safe. Okay. So we have a ball of part A. Part A? Yeah, part A. About that big. I'm gonna get a piece of part B. I'll probably end up having leftover. There you go. That's perfect. Look at that. Smacking the money. What you're going to do is you're going to mix it together, and you're going to try splatting it together, and then I start twisting it, holding it on itself, twisting it, smashing it, twisting it, you know, normal stuff. It is a reddish brown. It's only slightly lighter than the normal part A, but you can see there's no streaks in it. That's what you want. You don't want any streaks. Because I've had that before, and it tends to be pretty forgiving. If you have too many streaks, it's not mixed well enough, it will not harden all the way. It will harden enough that it's fine to hold, but you could end up pressing your fingernail into it, which is the worst. Okay, so I'm going to simply just wrap. Now, mind you, this stuff takes a minute for it to start being sticky and tacky, and it won't really stick to stuff for 5 minutes or so. So, I got my reference image these before. I have tried making pine cones before, and they always end up being harder than I want them to be. So it's always good to have a reference image on hand. So what I am going to do, I'm going to get my sculpting tools. Right now it's very pliable, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the cross pattern across the handle like pine cones have. I'm going to do my best to not screw this up. So I'm adding variations into the thickness of each nodule, whatever it's called in a pine cone, I do not know. That way, because if you look at actual pine cones, they're all, each little piece of the pine cone they tend to be different sizes. So we will just do our best to try and replicate that by being very varying. Thicker right there, then thinner, then thicker, then... Oh, here comes the tedious part. Next time you see me, it'll be better. Okay, new day. I finished sculpting it, and sorry I didn't get any of that on camera. I figured you guys probably would be bored with me sculpting it, but I did finish it, and it looks like a pine cone in some regard, and that's kind of what I'm going for. I might use a Dremel to kind of clean this up, maybe get the bottom a bit rounder, possibly. But for the most part, I don't think it looks too bad. It's not super close to the sketch, but you know, you just kind of play with the cards you're dealt, and sometimes you don't sculpt everything the way you want it to be sculpted. So the next step on this is to get it painted. Well, I'm just gonna try to see if I can't fix the bottom of this, paint it, and then seal it, and then I'll be done. Alright, new day again. So everything's primed and ready to go on the pine cone. And a little knob right there, it's been primed. I'm gonna end up painting the blade of this a nice light pan to make it look like actual pine wood. I realized I probably could have kept it the same, but it would have been just a pain in the butt to mask everything off. I could have done it, I just didn't really want to. I'm going to be painting this today, and I'm going to try to go for as realistic of a pine cone as I can. I understand it doesn't look like a pine cone perfectly, but, you know, like I said before, this is just supposed to be like a quick and dirty project, so we'll just see how it goes from there, and then we'll go. Alright, so I painted the blade. So it's a nice reddish tan. It's going to look really nice with the handle here. It's going to have a nice earth tones kind of carry up. I'm going to dry brush onto the blade. You can see that it's a bit rough there. like catches it nicely. I'm gonna make it so that you can see that just the edges of blade get touched, so they can stand out just a little bit. So I'm kind of hitting it at an angle here. I'm not going straight up and down, otherwise that would kind of hit all of the blade instead of just parts of it. So coming at it at an angle. So basically it's just hitting the edges of it. Okay, now I'm gonna go through with just the light. This is gonna be a lot more sparing. Be a little bit more careful with this. Okay, so that is definitely looking better. You can definitely see those highlights in the wood now. All the different, those edges are ever so slightly highlighted so that they have a bit more contrast to them. All right, so I finished. Everything's finished here pretty much. I clear coated it. Everything is done. This is the completed wand. I'll get some close-ups in just a minute. But I think it turned out pretty well. I mean, I know it's not an exact pine cone. Pine cones are, for me, really hard to sculpt. They just really are. It's hard to explain. I mean, you look at a pine cone and go, that can be that complicated. And then you try sculpting it, you realize, oh, it's very complicated. But yes, so I got it finished, and it is what it is. I think it turned out pretty well in terms of what it is. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate you guys staying with it and tuning in just to see how it turns out. I think it turned out pretty well. Yeah, thanks.